Hi, welcome back aboard the Earthmote. I'm Randall. Today we are continuing our series where we take a look at different types of dungeons that we can use within our tabletop role-playing games. By understanding these different locations that we have at our disposal, we can make more informed choices about what challenges to present within our campaign and when to use these different dungeon types in our next adventures. Today I want to take a look at another fantasy dungeon staple, the sprawling underground city. In this case, when I'm talking about underground cities, I'm also including lost cities beneath the surface, forgotten civilizations, vast cave networks that became settlements, and so on. Essentially, any sort of expansive subterranean space that once served or continues to serve as a place of habitation for a group or society. Honestly, I feel like I've been avoiding this one a little bit because it's a little bit harder to generalize. We're talking about a whole city after all. You're going to have a lot of different buildings, places with different functions. Their theming and typing can really be all over the place. So I'm going to try to make some generalizations and hopefully give some hints on how to make these different locations feel a bit more cohesive and make the city feel like a singular dungeon. But just know when you're using an underground city, you're going to have a lot more variance and wide variety of functions that you can use and employ within it. And it's just hard to kind of cover all of that in a single video. But in this video, and like all our others in the series, we hope to answer a few key questions. What is the purpose of the underground city? When would we use such a location within our games? What denizens would the adventurers encounter? What unique hazards and defenses might be found within the city, and what secrets and treasures could lie hidden in its depths. So with that set, let's go ahead and get into it. An underground city is designed as a place for a society to live, work, and thrive beneath the surface. That is really the essence of this dungeon location type. The creation of such a sprawling underground dwelling represents a significant undertaking, suggesting a really compelling reason for its existence. This tells us that the civilization that built the location, or the current inhabitants of it, likely faced unique pressures, maybe possessed remarkable ingenuity, or are fantastically adapted to life underground. The reasoning could be a need for defense, perhaps access to unique resources found only underground, the pursuit of arcane secrets best kept hidden, or even the cultural or religious imperatives to hide away from the sun. In fantasy fiction, these locations can also arise from cataclysms that force a surface society underground. If the underground metropolis is a large adventuring location, then it's probably going to have distinct districts dedicated to different societal functions. This could include residential areas, marketplaces, temples, administrative centers, or even subterranean farms or underground mines. The design and the architecture of the underground city often reflects the beliefs, values, and technological capabilities of its creators. Some things to consider when designing your underground city include unique architectural styles adapted to the underground environment, carvings, murals, or artwork depicting the history or culture of the society. Maybe there are different public spaces like plazas, forums, or grand halls that are distinct to an underground city. You can have interesting infrastructure like water management systems, ventilation shafts, or even some sort of ancient form of transportation. And when it comes to a bit more fantastical phenomena, you could include things like evidence of powerful magic woven into the very fabric of the city. Maybe there's strange technologies powered by unknown sources to the adventuring party at least. And there could also be things like portals to other subterranean realms or connections to further areas in the Underdark. I think there are two main reasons why adventurers would want to venture forth into an underground city in the first place. Lost cities can really capture that essence of mythical purpose. You can have rumors of your lost cities floating about in your sandbox that the party can pick up on and listen to. Think of real world examples. El Dorado, the city of gold, Atlantis, the civilization that sunk to the bottom of the ocean, or Aram of the Pillars of Arabia. All of these are legendary locations. So the most obvious is that the Lost City holds something that the players want. Most often this is a treasure or artifact left behind the vanished civilization. But it could also be something else, usually in the way of knowledge. Maybe they need to find an ancient library to uncover a forgotten spell or the history of a powerful artifact. Perhaps the artifact has appeared on the surface of your Sandbox campaign and the party has to go underground to find this information. Or perhaps the ruins hold clues to present-day threats that originated from the Lost Society. The second reason the players would go to an underground city is to interact with or stop a threat. If the city is abandoned, then that threat might be monstrous creatures that have taken up residence, or perhaps some sort of lingering magical guardian. If the city is still active, then the threat could be the current inhabitants themselves, who are perhaps xenophobic, maybe they're hostile to surface dwellers, or maybe they practice some sort of dark magical arts. These are the generic threats that an underground city could pose to the wider area around it, or to the adventurers themselves. I'd say that this is probably the less common reason. The inhabitants of an underground city would probably have to be causing some significant problems on the surface world for anyone to really care about them and send an adventuring party down there to stop them. But underground raiders do give a nice compelling hook for your players to go check out your Lost City dungeon, so it can definitely be a useful one to have in your pocket. Underground cities offer a wide range of threats and opportunities to the party. The level of preservation and the nature of its inhabitants, if any, will drastically change the experience that the party will have. A recently abandoned section of a city might have some intact defenses and perhaps desperate survivors, leading to a different kind of adventure than exploring the deep, monster-infested ruins of a truly ancient civilization long lost. The layout of an underground city can vary greatly depending on its purpose, the species that built it, and the geological formations that it was built within. However, there are some common elements or districts that you might want to include. You're going to want to have entranceways, perhaps main thoroughfares. Think about the residential districts that your party is going to encounter. You can have commercial areas within the city. You can have temples or sacred sites. You can include things like workshops, crafting centers, foundries, blacksmiths, things like that. Civic buildings, so grand halls or libraries, include defensive structures, so guard posts, fortified gates, maybe some sort of towers or underground equivalents. You can have lower levels or deep sectors. These are probably less explored and often more dangerous. Perhaps they lead to an older part of the city that's no longer used. And you can have different unique features that make your city unique. Maybe it's some sort of subterranean farming system, could be some sort of vast underground reservoirs, or strange geological formations that really are integrated into the city's design. Now that's quite a bit. So when we start to think about the layout of our city, it's easy to get overwhelmed. You might be worrying you need to map all of that out and key it out. And you could, but I don't think that's the best use of your time or the best way to run an underground city adventure location. I think there are a couple tips that might help ease the burden and make it a little bit more focused on whatever sort of location you really want to be presenting to your party. First, consider the state of the city. If it's ruined, make it ruined. Cut down your workload. Was it a huge monster that destroyed parts of the city, or did the caverns partially collapse? You can use these reasons to take out large swaths of your city and focus on the adventure sites that really matter. Secondly, you could consider running the city like a point crawl map. Map out a few key areas of the city that the party can travel to, and then have those areas mapped and keyed out as their own sub-dungeons. That way, when the party wants to travel between locations, you can just make some rolls for random encounters or random things they might encounter along the way. Perhaps they find a small random building along the way that wasn't destroyed or is interesting for some reason. Then they can check those spaces out but you don't have to really key everything up ahead of time, every single road that leads from the temple to the civic building. And if you want to feel prepared for these random vignettes, you can make a few ahead of time and then randomly select one whenever a random happening comes up on your die rolls. I think these really can slot in nicely, and they make your city feel bigger without the need to key the whole thing out, and make the world feel a little bit more immersive and interesting as they kind of travel between those central locations in your underground city. So what types of creatures can we expect to find within our underground city dungeons? Well, if the city is abandoned, the most obvious denizens would be monsters that have moved into the ruins. This could be cave-dwelling creatures like troglodytes, hook horrors, cloakers, to more intelligent beings like mind flayers, dragons, or beholders seeking a hidden lair. The darkness and isolation of these places can breed unique and terrifying monsters for the party to encounter. You can also have undead in your city, and I think the state of the ruins could influence the types of undead you might find within. Perhaps the lingering spirits of the city's former inhabitants reside there, or perhaps you have more powerful undead drawn to a magical underground city for the remaining residual energies. On the more mundane side, we might also find vermin and scavengers adapted to underground environments. Giant rats, cave spiders, blind cave fish, and other unsettling creatures. These can provide atmospheric and low-level threats, especially in sort of forgotten corners of the city. We might also see the employ of constructs left behind. Perhaps they were there to guard specific locations or perform automated tasks. These could be ancient automatons powered by forgotten magic, or they could be more recent creations of a surviving enclave. Their programming might be intact, making them relentless guardians, or it could have degraded over time, leading to more unpredictable behavior. If the city is still active, then the denizens would be the surviving members of the original civilization or a new group that has claimed the ruins as their own. These could be dwarves, dwergar, drow, deep gnomes, or entirely unique subterranean races with their own cultures and motivations of your own devising. Encounters could range from peaceful trade to hostile conflict, depending on their disposition towards surface dwellers. And lastly, the party might come across other humanoids as they're exploring the ruins. They could see other adventuring parties seeking fame and fortune. Perhaps scholars or archaeologists have come to the ruins hoping to uncover lost knowledge. There could be raiders and plunderers that have come to the city seeking to exploit its riches. Or you could have cultists or other nefarious groups seeking to harness the latent magical power of your city. All of these different types of creatures really give us a lot of nice diversity in building out interesting encounters within our underground cities. When you think about the different locations you want to feature in your underground city, think about what's unique to those places. So temples have priests that probably have some sort of holy magic, and then what you want to represent commonly across your city. So maybe all the inhabitants have this power of yellow glowing eyes. That way, each place can be its own capsule, but be tied to the greater theme of your city and or its people. So in our case, our yellow-eyed holy men are going to be able to wield magic, and that would make it unique to the temple district, but also commonly tied across the city and its inhabitants. An underground city, whether abandoned or active, is likely to be defended by some interesting hazards and traps. The original builders or current inhabitants would have implemented measures to protect their city from intruders or dangers of the deep Underdark. We could see a lot of variance in the types of traps and defenses employed, often reflecting the culture and technological levels of the society. Hazards in an underground city can range from environmental challenges to more sophisticated traps. If built by a race adapted to the dark, there might be areas of disorienting darkness or reliances on senses unfamiliar to surface dwellers. Natural dangers could be things like collapsing tunnels, unstable bridges over underground chasms, or areas with toxic gases vented from deep within the earth. And when it comes to more deliberate defenses, consider the nature of the civilization. A militaristic society might employ cleverly concealed pit traps or pressure sensitive triggers, releasing cave ins, or automated defenses powered by ancient technologies. A more magically inclined civilization might utilize arcane wards, glyphs of protection, or illusions to deter intruders. And a more primitive society might just rely on strategically placed natural obstacles, domesticated monstrous guardians, or cleverly disguised ambush traps. For an active city, the hazards might include sophisticated surveillance systems or even the city's infrastructure itself being used defensively, maybe flooding tunnels or things like that. When designing hazards for an underground city, consider the scale of the location. A sprawling city offers more opportunities for layered defenses and environmental challenges than a smaller city would. Despite all this, similar to traps in other dungeons, be mindful of overwhelming your players with constant hazards. Telegraphing dangers and allowing for player ingenuity to overcome them leads to a lot more engaging gameplay than simply triggering unavoidable damage. Give some thought to how the environment itself can be a puzzle for the party to solve, and you'll have some interesting traps on your hands. All of this brings us to the potential rewards for the adventurers. What types of treasures could they expect to find within an underground city? Well, fortunately for them, the exploration of a forgotten city can yield incredible discoveries and riches. We've already talked about how these locations were often built by advanced or influential societies. This means that they're likely to contain valuable artifacts, lost knowledge, or other unique resources. The possessions and discoveries the party will find are going to vary based on the nature of the civilization. Advanced weaponry or tools crafted from rare subterranean metals. Maybe there's ancient texts of forgotten lore, maps to other hidden locations, or powerful spells. You could have things like artwork and sculptures reflecting the unique aesthetic of your underground location. You could have technological marvels powered by unknown energy sources. And you could have precious metals and gems mined from the depths near the city. It can also make sense for the city to hold surprising artifacts from the surface world, perhaps they acquired through trade or conquest in the distant past. This can offer intriguing clues about the city's history and connections to your wider world. Remember that different districts or levels of the city might hold different types of treasures. The royal palace could have loads of opulent wealth and powerful artifacts, while the workshop district could hold valuable tools or crafting secrets. Subterranean cities can also offer a lot of other treasures to the adventuring parties as well. Consider unique things like intact infrastructure or resources that could be valuable to the surface world, well-preserved libraries or archives containing historical records or new scientific knowledge, or unique flora or fauna with alchemical properties that can only be found within the depths of your world. Lastly, if the city is contested or has seen previous explorers, then the party could find discarded gear or treasures of those who came before them. The sprawling underground city is truly an evocative dungeon type. Rooted in myth and legend, these lost or active subterranean societies offer a fantastic backdrop for adventure. Every campaign setting has the potential for hidden histories and forgotten civilizations beneath its surface. Whether your players are delving into ancient ruins or navigating the complexities of a living underground society, these locations offer a unique blend of exploration, mystery, and potential reward. Let me know if underground metropolises are one of your go-to dungeon types, and if you have any memorable stories or unique elements you've incorporated into your dungeons in the past. I'll admit I don't necessarily use them a whole lot in my games, just because of the amount of work that you can definitely put into them can really feel like a lot. But I do believe if you do them right, they can definitely be one of the more memorable dungeon locations you can employ. If you've enjoyed the video and are liking the Dungeon Perspective series, then please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to see the other dungeon types we've already covered in the series, check out the playlist on the screen now. Consider also checking out Enchanted Nimbus, my monthly newsletter. Thanks for hopping aboard the Earthmote. I'll see you in the next one.